Okay, class. For those of you that are really ambitious and you want to see some cool tools that are used for digital illustration, this is the real deal. This is Photoshop. It's available to you for free as a student in Jordan School District. You go to Adobe Cloud and you download Adobe Cloud and you use your school Gmail account and you can get it for free. Um, So, for those that want to know kind of the process of putting together a page digitally, I'm going to show you how to do that now. And I'm going to go through it quickly, but you could reference this back if you needed to later. So, I have a template with my panels already laid out. And first thing you always want to do in a Photoshop file is to copy your background. And you do that by hitting Control J or Command J if you're using a Mac. And that just copies whatever layer that you are already on. You don't ever want to mess up your background later. That's the original image, so you want to keep that. So now that I have the background layer copied, I am going to start putting pictures inside each of the panels here. And traditionally, you would just draw in one of these panels, but there are ways to get higher fidelity images in there and images that you can change and manipulate to your liking, as you'll see here very quickly. First tool I'm going to use actually is I'm going to go ahead and use the magic wand tool over here. And that will, if I click, select an entire area that's enclosed. Since this is a line drawing, it's very easy to see where that's going to collect. So I'm going to select just the first layer here. And I am going to make what's called a layer mask. Okay, that's down here at the bottom. And what that does is it creates an invisible wall, basically, which says that now, if I put something inside here, it will show up. But if it overlaps off that edge, it won't show up. It'll be invisible back in that area. I'm going to unlock these two layers because I'm actually going to move this one up to my next layer. I'm going to bring in an image that I want to use. So in the first one, by the way, I already opened up a bunch of drawings and images that I had prepared. So if you were doing digital drawing, you would, of course, have a picture of whatever you drew already, scanned in or digitally photoed in, and then you want to open those files up, which is what I have here at the top. So I'm going to open up an ink drawing of Bowser that I did. Okay, I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to go ahead and copy it. I'm going to go back to my template page and Command V or Control V will paste it. Now you see this is on a whole separate layer now. It's smack on top of the previous layers. You can't see those anymore. If I was to take this one and make it invisible by hitting that eye, then I can see my background layers. But I told you that I wanted to use this masking layer because I only want it to show up inside that first box. So I'm going to drag that so that this mask layer matches the layer of a Bowser there. But now I can't see the part of Bowser that I wanted to see. So I'm going to resize and move him. To move, you can click this, or you can just push the V button on your keyboard, and that'll make it so you can move around your objects. Okay. So I'm going to move him. And then to resize an object, you can go through the menus, but the fastest way to do it is to hit Control T or Command T, and then to grab a corner. When I grab a corner, I hold Shift, because if I don't hold Shift, then it can warp all over the place, and I don't want that. I want it to keep the same proportions. Shift. I kind of like that spacing right there. I'm gonna hit enter. If I decide I don't like that, I can always move it again. To undo something I just did, I hit Control Z or Command Z. Great, so that's panel number 1. In panel number 2, I think I wanna make some text. So I will use my text box. And I'm gonna make a new layer just to make sure. That's a new layer button there. So now it's not gonna be masked anymore. I can draw outside of it. And inside here, I would choose the font style that I wanted. For now, I'm just gonna use typewriter. Resize it. That was too big. 16. That's maybe still a little too big. 14. We're gonna keep it at that. But I'm going to change the formatting. I'm going to shrink it down just a little bit. It kind of fits in my box there. Yeah, I'm pretty fond of that. Okay, good. All right. Well, move it just a little bit. There we go. I hit the V button again for move, just to make that easier. And I'm going to go ahead and do another image here. I've already kind of planned this out in my mind as to where I wanted things to go. In this next box, I'm going to go back to this layer again, and I'm going to select that box. Okay. I'm going to make a layer mask of that. So it's not looking at anything except just what's inside this box. And I am going to put a picture of Peach's castle in there that I have. Command A or Control A selects everything. Control C for copy. Ooh, that's not the one I wanted. Not yet. And Control V. Now it's on a separate layer right now. Okay. I'm going to move it into position. Size it up the way I want. Shift to change the size. I can shrink it just to fit like that. Maybe I don't even need the whole minute. Now see it's poking up over the edges. If I take that layer mask and I apply it to that layer, it's going to cover that up. I'm going to put a picture of Princess Peach right there, actually. I'm going to resize that, Command T. There's some things I'm not happy about with this. One is it has the white around the edges. So I'm going to use the magic tool to select that white area, and I'm just going to delete it. And Control D will deselect it. Now I could make her fit inside that box by copying this layer and applying it to that layer. Didn't do what I wanted. Go back. Applying it to that layer like so. And then changing the size on that. But actually, I kind of like that overlap outside of the panel. Sometimes comic books will do that. So I'm going to make sure I'm on the panel that I want. Yeah, I'm going to resize her just a little bit. Yeah, I'm okay with that. And then right here, I'm going to have Bowser capturing Peach. And I had a couple of images that I got ready for that. Okay, so I'm going to Command A, Command Copy. I'm going to post that. V will help me move it to where I want it to go. Command T to resize it the way I want it. Good enough for now. And I'm going to use this one. Command A, Command C. Oops. V button to move again. I'm going to resize it again. Kind of like how that parodies it. This is happy. This is being captured. But there are some other options I can do also. For one thing, this is black and white, but I can actually reverse it. So I'm going to hit Command I, and that would actually change whatever's white to black and vice versa. I can do some interesting things with that. For example, I can get rid of this black outline using the magic wand tool to select the dark areas. And then I could move Princess Peach in front of Bowser like so. I'll go back to the Bowser layer. I'm going to make him a little bit bigger and more menacing. I'm actually just going to use the magic wand tool to get rid of the outline on that. I've got some room over here that I could put a text bubble in. Now, I think I have Peach and Bowser the way that I want them to be. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll move Bowser up just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and just crop that portion of it. Everything inside that box I'm going to get rid of, but I'm going to make sure I'm on the right layer right now. I'm on the background layer. I want it on that one, and I'm just going to delete that. I don't love doing it that way because I can't keep moving it after that, but I know that's where I want it to go. Okay. And I have room for a dialog box here if I want it. Let's see if there's any other tools that I really wanted to show you. Okay, so there's a couple more tricks that I want to show you. I'm going to go ahead and actually make a dialog box over here. I'm going to start a new layer, and I'm actually just going to make the shape. I'm going to do two different shapes. One tool that I can use is this polygon lasso. Okay, and then every time I click, it basically makes an anchor point. I'm going to basically do two shapes here. I'm going to do triangle shape. And as soon as you touch back to the original starting point, that makes a complete shape there. So there's a triangle, but then I'm going to go up to the top here, and there's different options. And I can add to this selection, which is what I'm selected on right now, or I could take away from it. So I'm going to make another shape. I'm going to use this shape builder tool here. If I right click, I can choose different shapes to use. I'm going to do the ellipse, and I'm going to drag it and make a shape. Now it's nowhere near where I want it to be. So if I hold the space bar down, then I can actually move this thing where I want it to go, and I can stretch it and squish it. If I hold the shift button, it turns into a straight circle. Shift makes everything its ideal shape. Okay, so now those two shapes combined, and it's because I had that selected. And then from here, I can do several things. I'm actually going to turn this dialog box dark. I don't need to do that, but I'm going to. And I'm just going to hit this button to switch from my light to my dark. There's lots of ways to do this. I'm just going to use the paintbrush tool. I'm going to hit B. My brush is really small. I can make it larger at the top like this, or I can use the parentheses button, bracket button, to make it go larger or smaller. And it's only going to paint inside my selected area there. That dark is actually different than that black. I can fix that. If I hit the I button for eyedropper and I select the color that I want, it'll change my color down here to that color. I'm going to hit the B button to go back to brush. There we go. That'll match my ink. And I'm going to push Control D to deselect this shape. If I want to move it, push V, and I can move it. It's on its own layer now. And I kind of have an idea on this one. Usually I just type in text, but I think for this one I kind of want to do a big roar sort of sound. Maybe I want to make this dialog box a little bit bigger. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Okay. I'm going to do a couple of things. One, just to make sure I only write inside my text and not outside it, I am going to make a layer mask of what I'm at. Oops. I'm going to select it using the magic wand tool. Then I'm going to hit the layer mask. Okay. So now it'll only write inside there. And I'm going to draw it in. I'm going to use my brush tool. Now, typically, like I said, I'd use just the text box tool, but I want to kind of hand write and stylize these letters. So I'm going to zoom in on it. I don't recommend this. Drawing with a keyboard and mouse is very difficult, or a pad if you're using a laptop. That's also really hard. I have a very simple drawing tablet close by, so I'm going to give it a shot. It may not be perfect, but I'm going to try it out just to show you the different tools and options that you have. Now I'm zooming in because I don't need to see the rest of it right now, and that's going to give me more control. I'm selecting my brush. I'm selecting how big I want my brush to be. I'm only focused in on this one part. I right-clicked on my brush tool. I'm using the pencil tool now. Works about like the brush. I selected the color that I wanted. I'm on the right layer that I wanted. And I'm going to go ahead and not use my mouse pad. I'm going to use a tablet real quick. But I'm going to do some dynamic lettering here. I've zoomed in so that I can get quite a bit of detail. Of course, it doesn't have to be totally perfect. I could use just a straight line tool, but I'm gonna freehand this. I can zoom in even further if I need to, which I think I'm gonna do. If I ever need to move my camera, I just hold the space bar and then I slide the mouse. Space bar, the mouse. Let's see what it looks like. So there's a text dialog for you to use also. So we've gone over text this, how to make shapes, how to draw using a brush and pencil, how to switch between positive and negative using Command I, how to bring in pictures, how to mask off areas. That's basically all the tools that you would need to be able to do the rest of your comic page. You don't need to do it digitally. This is just for those that want to know how to do this. Doing it traditionally is just fine. Okay, I'm gonna keep going a little bit. I'm gonna add Peach being captured down here. Control A, Control C. And I'm gonna paste. I'm going to get rid of that background by using the magic wand and selecting that white space. Control D to deselect, V to move. I kind of like how that overlaps actually. Like this movement from dark to light to dark again. Creates a sense of movement. Okay, so I've sealed off all of those shapes there, and Now I'm going to select just the background area. Sorry, I'm on the wrong layer. There we go. Just the background area, not the letters. And then I'm going to select my brush. I want dark, like that. I wanted it large. Just going to add some style in here. Okay, I'm going to show you some more tricks that I did. I kept going in and completed out all of the other squares. Get my story, added a lot more images. But I was using the same tricks that I already showed you. But I'm going to show you a couple of more. I added in these guys. Notice sometimes I let my characters and stuff overlap the edges of the panels. That's a-okay. Comic artists do that all the time. I've done some things to try to carry movement. I used the pen tool here to make some arches so that it felt like Mario was jumping, bouncing on these guys. And that's the end of my story there. It's just the kid is the one taking the control of the situation. I want to show you some background stuff that I've been doing. So the panels themselves, if I go down to the panel section and select it, and then I use the magic wand tool, I can select the edges of it. If I go ahead and hold shift, I can select all of the edges of the boxes that I want, and then I can do some kind of cool things. Okay, that's kind of the whole area that I wanted. After I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and do a fill. Edit, fill, and then I can choose a color that I want. In this case, I'm just gonna choose black. I'll hit OK. It's gonna fill in only the areas that I've told it to fill in, right? So I filled in this background layer here. Only the places in between on that. So now that I have this layer selected, I'm going to hit FX. I'm going to hit stroke. Now, stroke is a line that goes around the outside of shapes. I can change the thickness of it. I have the preview on so I can see what's going to happen to it. A 5-point stroke around all of those. I can change whether it goes on the inside or the outside, on the center. Change the opacity of it. I can change the blending mode of it. I just want it to be normal red. I chose red for the color schematic of the NES. Another thing you can do once the FX is open is a drop shadow. And I'm going to change the color of my drop shadow. Normally it'd be black, but my background's already black, so let's see what happens if I make that white. At full opacity. Bring the size way in. Spread down. Size down. Distance out a little bit. Change the direction. Hit OK on everything. Kind of see what that does. One more thing I want to show you is I'm gonna color these Mario words here. So I'm gonna make sure I'm on the right layer. So there's my word layer. I'm gonna select that. I'm gonna use my magic tool to select just the areas that I want to color. I'm holding the shift button while I click. That lets me add areas to select. Now I'm going to hit the B button for brush tool. I'm going to choose the color that I want. And I could guess about that red color, but I don't have to guess. I can match it exactly by hitting the I button and then selecting the color. Now I'll hit B to go back to brush, where I can change the size of my brush. But I'm going to be painting just in the selected areas anyways. So it should work out okay. Let's double check that it's going to work. Of course not. Go back to my wand tool. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Brush tool. There it goes. I don't have to worry that my brush is way bigger than the letters because it's only painting in the area that I've selected. Command D to deselect it. So at this point, I'm just being really selective about what it is that I'm painting. Take one last overview, and we are finished.